morning, everyone. My name is Heidi Adams. I'm with market research firm IHS Markit, now a part of Informa Tech. I'll be your host for the morning. And I'm going to start you off with providing a little bit of context on putting together, tying some threads with respect to what we're going to be hearing over the course of the morning. So just to start off, a little bit of apologies for the late start. Some of our speakers have been late to arrive due to some significant traffic that's been going on, but we're all set to get going with the morning. All right. And I will jump past. Let's see. Thank you. Okay, slides are coming. Those aren't my slides. There we go. All right. So the theme for my talk this morning, I have a few minutes to kick us off, as I mentioned, is going to be 5G as a change agent for networking. And let's put this in context. So 5G, it's transformative. It touches every aspect of the networking ecosystem. I don't think I have to, that's no news to anyone who's in the audience this morning. But as an industry analyst, I do have the opportunity to go to many events, such as this one, and it's kind of fun as you travel around the events, how 5G is brought into the discussion. So if we were to attend a 5G-oriented event, a Mobile World Congress or something of that nature, what are the themes and stories that we're hearing about? A lot of it's about the applications, the services that are going to drive the business behind the monetization of 5G. So, we've heard about the standard ones, be it enhanced mobile broadband, fixed wireless access, low latency services, and massive machine-type communications. And of course, of late, private networks and the impact of enterprise, all very important. If you're on the radio side of things, a lot of new technologies associated with 5G. So everything from the antennas, spectrum, talk millimeter wave, how all that's going to come together, the regulatory environment associated with that. So many, many things in this area. Note I haven't mentioned devices. That's also a big part of the ecosystem. So let's bring it a little closer into the networking. And just in terms of confession, I am a networking and transport person by specialty, so there's a little bit of flavor of that in my talk. But looking at the mobile core. So it's not just the access network, it's not just the RAN, but there's significant transformation happening in the mobile core as well. Many different themes here. It is envisioned as a service-based architecture. Virtualization and the move to cloud, cloud-native implementation is core to what's happening in the mobile core. And there's going to be some interesting challenges resolved as we go into deployments on the mobile core. Some aspects of that function are heavily transport-oriented, data path, data plane-oriented, not so easy to solve through virtualization. So technologies such as CUPS, control user plane separation, come into play. Network slicing, of course, very important. All right, closer to my heart, mobile transport. So we heard yesterday, one of the biggest investments associated with the move to 5G, wireless, is the investment in the fixed network as well. So a lot of fiber and a lot of equipment associated with lighting both ends of that fiber and providing that mobile transport environment from the radio all the way through to the core. So here what we're looking at is a range of architectures, connectivity, it's about capacity, it's about low latency, deterministic latency. Network slicing pops up here, of course, as well. So I didn't mention OSS/BSS. That is in there. If I could redo the slides, it would have its own box, but of course a critical aspect of the ecosystem as well. So let's bring it back to this event. We're at SDN NFV World Congress. How does that all fit? Why are we talking about 5G at this event? SDN, I tie it most closely to the mobile transport network. Of course, it has impact across, but some very, very important things happening here. So we're looking at how do we disaggregate, how do we make it more open, how do we make it more automated? So critical to enabling mobile transport for 5G. Likewise, NFV. I have it kind of tied here to the mobile core. Mobile core to me is poster child, if you will, for complex network functions that need to make this transition, and I believe 5G in the mobile core will be the key one to really prevent this use case and set a platform for the introduction of additional capabilities moving forward. So within NFV, a lot of discussions here, obviously VNFs or CNFs themselves, the NFVI, orchestration, telco cloud, and the edge. Hold those thoughts. So 5G, change agent, broader network transformation. 5G is enabled by SDN and NFV, and the inverse, SDN and NFV will enable 5G. But as we all know, maybe these terms not so fashionable as they had been in the past. And I think part of that is maturity, where we are in the life cycle of these technologies. They are accepted, we are moving forward with them, we are implementing them. We're not quite there yet, but there is a transition. So SDN and NFV are becoming enablers for where we're going with overall network transformation. So let me tie that to a couple of additional industry buzzwords. If I think of SDN and what it's enabling, automation. Many different aspects to automation. I have network automation here. Everything from how do we provision our networks, how do we monitor, how do we maintain, how do we do proactive health monitoring, that's the wrong word, take proactive action on our networks. Also on the provisioning side and services as well. NFV to me is an enabler for digital transformation. As enterprises move towards the cloud, as service providers themselves do that transition, digital transformation is key. Of course, these areas are linked. All right, so let me share a little bit of research. So every year IHS Markit conducts a service provider survey in the areas of NFV and SDN. So let me share a couple of the findings. This is our 6th annual, and thank you. Many of you in the audience have participated in this over the years, so kind of fun to share some of the findings. So on the SDN side, no surprise, 100% of the network operators that we interviewed are deploying SDN either today or have firm plans to introduce some aspect of SDN into their network in the near future. Of our respondents, 70% of those are deploying SDN in quite an extensive area of their network. So we track and ask about a range of applications, be it what are you doing in your backhaul network, what are you doing in optical, what are you doing in routing, different areas. Many operators are targeting multiple areas within their network. Top drivers for investment, no surprise. I had mentioned automation. One of the key ones, simplification, automation of service delivery. Service provisioning, enabling more agility in services, time to market, time to revenue. And the second piece, end-to-end network and service management as a part of evolving towards the introduction of network automation. Okay, that's SDN. What about NFV? 100% of respondents have plans to deploy NFV moving forward. No surprise there. What was a little bit surprising is in our survey, almost 90% had already deployed some aspect of virtualization, some network functions into their network. And I'll come back and share what some of those were. So top drivers there, service and revenue agility, time to market again, time to revenue, improving customer experience, operational efficiency, taking steps towards automation, okay, and reducing costs through the evolution to more standardized hardware. Still, there are a few barriers. Skill sets come up multiple times, and there is a view that products are still evolving and aren't quite where they need to be. And I think we're hearing a lot of this discussion in the conference, especially with respect to NFVI. So we're getting there, but we still have some work to do. All right, so we talk about VNFs and CNFs, and the question is, where do they go? Somewhere in the cloud. Okay, it's a little bit more, we need something more tangible than that. So as part of the survey as well, we asked, where do the VNFs go? And part of that discussion is, where's this thing we're calling the edge? I think what came back is there is no one edge. Edge has a broad definition. Edge fundamentally, in our opinion, it has to do with a couple of different things. One, introducing compute, introducing perhaps storage capabilities, bringing that out closer to the customer, providing support for network functions and for applications moving forward. But there is also an additional aspect that defines the edge, which is how long it takes you to get there and back. So within our scope, we have it framed at being somewhere under 20 milliseconds as a round-trip delay or a round-trip time. Now that seems pretty big. We have heard from different operators here at the conference a range of times. So it could be 20 seconds, it could be 10 seconds, it could be 1 second, depending on the requirements of the application. And so you see that in this green arrow, your VNFs and your edge, you're getting closer out to the consumer, closer out to the customer, to the enterprise, depending on the latency requirements of the application. So with that in mind, where are these edges and where are people putting their VNFs? As part of the research, what we found, if you look at the far edge or the premise edge, out on UCP devices as an example, 82% of the respondents in this survey plan to do some execution of VNFs in that location within their network. But that's not all. A large percentage, almost 100, do plan to do execution of VNFs within the CO environment, not just the CO, but the smart CO, or the CO that's becoming equipped as a data center. Now, if you go a little bit deeper into the network, you have regional data centers. There will be deployment of VNFs there, but that is getting onto the edge of what we consider the edge. So we have it termed as a partial edge. And finally, there will be capabilities located at the larger, more centralized data center facilities. 70% of operators plan VNF execution there, but we don't consider that the edge. So just some thoughts there on the edge. Now, I'd mentioned what are those VNFs that are being deployed. So as part of this survey, the questions were, what do you want to deploy? What's going to help you drive CapEx savings? What's going to help you drive operational savings? Which are going to be the first ones that you deploy? So this chart here shares a list of some of the top ones in terms of how soon operators plan to deploy them. So what you see in light green is by the end of this year. Keep in mind this survey was done a year ago, and we're just updating it now. So if you're interested in seeing the updated one, please do reach out to me. But light green is by the end of this year, dark green is by the end of 2020, and the gray, not sure, or we won't be deploying those at all. So no surprise, the enterprise is sort of that first, I won't call it, well, I could call it a battle, but it's that first place where we're seeing massive deployment. Business, virtualized enterprise CPE, ECP, that's the top use case with SD-WAN as a service very closely behind it. Okay, so as most operators have plans there. But the mobile use cases are also key. So the core, IMS core, and network slicing. Top takeaways. SD-WAN, I believe, in the enterprise has been sort of the first front where we've seen a lot of deployment and a lot of thought around SDN and NFV. I believe 5G will be the tipping point to move more into complex network functions into the cloud. So looking at the mobile core, looking at the broadband edge, once that infrastructure is in place, sky's the limit. Still some work to do to get down that path. SDN and NFV as terms, as technologies, not going away, but I think the way we think about them is going to change. It's not SDN and NFV for themselves, but it's more as enablers to larger themes, such as moving towards automation, enabling digital transformation. And finally, telco cloud and the emerging edge, front and center of our network evolution moving forward. So with that, hopefully a little bit of context. We're going to see a whole range of topics today with covering on some of these areas and many more.